Okay. Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the Digital Nomads World Weekly Lecture. I'm Becca, and I will be speaking with Shelly Agam today, who is a digital nomad architect who specializes in architecture and design. So welcome, Shelly.
Thanks.
So I'm going to start off, I know I was just speaking with you before, but I just want to start by asking you a little bit about yourself. So can you tell us where you're from and where you currently are?
I'm originally from Israel, though my family is from Europe. And I left about 5 years ago to start nomading. Right now, I'm in Lake Atitlan in Guatemala.
Cool, that's awesome. So I just want to start a little bit. So the title for today's is looking at how to make a space feel like a home. And I feel like that's really important in your work. So before we get really into that, I just want to start by asking you a bit about what exactly you do so you can give an introduction to the audience about your work.
All right. Well, so I went to school for architecture and I did that for a few years back in Israel. And I really hated it, to be honest. Like the actual practice of it was very different than what you learn at school. Which I really love the design part and working with people and creating a space that like people like to use and like to stay in. But the actual work really is not about that. It's maybe 20% of the work. And so I got really frustrated. Also had like a lot of bad bosses in a row. Maybe it's me. I don't know. But then I decided I don't want to work in that way anymore. And I decided to start my own practice. But at the same time, I kind of took a few months off trying to figure out what it is that I really want to be doing. And I always just wanted to travel. I always said if it was possible to just travel, that's what I want to do. And this was back in 2015. I kind of read and researched a little bit and then got to know this term digital nomad. And I decided that's what I want to do. And I could not get my clients on board with me being in a different country working on their architectural projects. So I decided I want to travel more than I want to be an architect. And I kind of created a different business, a completely digital business, offering digital files, digital products for an architectural software called Revit. So that's my main income for the past 4 years. And I do still really love architecture and design, and I try and kind of find my way into these projects in the places that I'm at. So I've had amazing opportunities to design Airbnb apartments in Budapest and create a house full of Airbnb units in Costa Rica, and really trying to get involved with new co-living projects in Bansko, by the way, where we met. So yeah, I'm always really excited to try and find these design options or opportunities. But for my day-to-day, and this is what I thought would be interesting to talk about today, is how I can create my own space, even though I'm traveling, even though I'm there for maybe 1 month, 2 months, how I can invest myself in it without investing too much money, but really create an environment that's nice for me to stay in and feels like a home.
Yeah, I think that's something that's interesting. I guess the kind of thought of having a temporary space and how exactly you can make it feel like a home without breaking the rules and things. If you're renting somewhere, often you can't, start drilling things into walls and stuff. But I thought that was a really interesting aspect of your work. So I guess, could you tell us a little bit about what you've been doing with that?
Well, first of all, I really want to invite people to follow me on my stories on Instagram, because I do share my day-to-day and the little things that I make. And I think that's a big part of it, is that I really like art, and I like crafting, and I like to make stuff. And I usually really try and use the stuff that's around me, so I don't need to spend a lot of money on materials or anything like that. And then, for example, in Costa Rica, I learned on YouTube, I learned how to weave baskets from the palm trees leaves,
Cool.
right? They have a name, I forgot the word.
Um,
I don't remember.
I'm not sure.
Anyway, and then I mean it's free. You just take your little machete and you chop down one palm tree leaf thing, and then you start weaving. And we had baskets all over the house for everything, you know. And then in Mexico, they have so many plants. It's such, I mean, you know, on the Caribbean side, they're just everywhere on the streets, and they're the type of plants you can just pick a little branch and then stick it in a bottle of water and it becomes a plant. It roots. So then I have, every time I went out, anybody around me that had these little soda glass bottles, they know they need to give it to me because I make these into my planters, and I had plants everywhere in the apartment. I also like to do macrame, so I would just have a project hanging on the wall, and I do it. And a lot of people tell me, like, you invest so much time in making the macrame and then you leave it behind. Doesn't it bother you? Like, but I enjoy making it, and while I'm making it, it's up in my apartment and I enjoy watching it. I did do a couple of times, I did make so many things that I had this kind of Dana sale where I didn't say a price, but I was like, if anybody wants the plants or the art that I made, they can just come and take and leave whatever money they want, if any. And so I also made a little money doing that. But just even giving it away to friends that are staying behind, or even leaving it in the apartment that I was staying in and leaving the place better than I found it. I think it has a lot of value and I enjoy it.
Yeah, I think it's interesting as well, the idea of using like upcycling, using things that could be thrown away or using things from the environment. I think that's definitely a really interesting kind of concept to bring that into a space. Do you think that they're kind of, do you think that it can affect your mood, I guess, in a space? Like, do you think it affects the time you spend somewhere if you make somewhere feel like a home?
Well, of course, it does make you feel more comfortable where you are. I personally, like, I'm a bit of a neat freak, so I can't start my work day if my table is not clear of anything other than my work stuff. So if I create my own little workspace that has this little plant or has my calendar stuck to the wall, I do work better. It helps me concentrate. And honestly, like, again, I know it's me, not everybody's like me, but I can't go to sleep and I can't sleep properly if I'm sleeping in a mess. So if the space feels nice, looks nice, then I honestly, I sleep better. And I do have these little things. So I travel only with a carry-on. So I don't have a lot of stuff, but the stuff that I do carry, these little things that really help me feel at home. One of them is this little travel clock. So it folds up, but then when you open it, it has this kind of leg, so it can stand up on my night table. And I have this little clock by my bed, which I really like. And I have some incense, so that automatically makes the space feel nicer when you light some incense. And then, yeah, I kind of collect as I go, but like you say, from around me, from my environment. So it does feel like a local design and a different feel every time I'm in a different place. I also travel, and this is like a big debate that I have now, is I travel with my watercolor palette and a notebook. I don't paint very often, only when the mood strikes, which can be once every like 3 months. And I've already gotten rid of all my paints and then rebought them again. And now again, I've not touched them, and I'm not sure they're worth the space, but
I think it's nice to have something with you that allows you to be creative. I think that's part of perhaps a feeling when you are renting somewhere, is not being able to make your mark, but being able to have creative materials with you to make things to put in the space, I think is a really good way of being able to have your expression and your bit of personality in a space.
yeah, for sure. for sure. But you know how it is. It's always like a balance between having the things that you like with you and being able to travel with a carry-on.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
There's
Um,
only so much space.
yeah. So do you think this is something that, in terms of like your work, is this something that you want to focus on and promote a bit more? Like you were saying, you share your Instagram stories. Do you plan on giving tips and creating kind of guidance for people to help make things for their space?
Um, I do. I do want to do that. The problem is I have so many different things that I'm interested in and that I do find it hard to kind of focus on one message. Like I can't even imagine only doing this on one Instagram account, you know, because I do travel and I enjoy nature so much, and
Hmm.
hiking and swimming and, you know, just laying on the beach and reading and painting and making stuff and food and, you know, everything. So I just share everything on my Instagram, and the only way that I can keep it up is by making sure I just do whatever I want and what's fun and enjoyable. So once it turns into work, it's a little bit hard for me to maintain, because I do have my full business other than my design work. With all that being said, I do really want to spend more time doing design and doing like local projects, but also I'm really interested in getting into more of co-working design and co-living design, because a lot of the spaces, they're really like, they can be really beautiful, but they're
Hmm.
not exactly what we're looking for when we want to live in a co-living. I was visiting a few in Medellin in Colombia, and none of them had a communal workspace. As you're a co-living trying
Yeah.
to market to digital nomads and you don't have a co-working. They're like, no, they each have a desk in the room. Well, but that's not why people come to a co-living, to stay in the room, right? So all these little things that I think can be improved on, and that's really what I want to get it more into in the future. But I do think that these little things that we can do individually while traveling, they do make a big difference, and I do share that as well. Yeah, I hope it's not too confusing for
No, I
people
think
to
it's really
follow.
interesting. I think something that I find really interesting and I think is really valuable for our members is the fact that you have so many different projects going on. Like you have your main line of work, which is your main source of income, and then you have your projects which are more for fun. And I think it's good that more remote workers and digital nomads talk about that, because it can often look from the outside like one person has a job and a set career and that's it. But I think there's lots of people that balance different lines of work. And it's really inspiring to see the different journeys and the different projects that people get to work on.
Honestly, like, I know there are still a lot of people who are, even when they're nomading, they have their one job and they work long, long hours as well sometimes. But I do meet so many people that when you ask them, what do you do? Their answer is like long, you know, they do a
Yeah.
lot of different things. That's how I always answer. And I think that is a better balance, generally speaking, in life, to not just do one thing, you know, and the mere fact that we're nomads and we travel, and that means that you are spending a lot of your time in travel. So that is already like a dual thing between work and travel. Um, but I don't know. You know, everybody knows this multi-potentialite talk on TED from a few years ago. That really changed my life. I always thought I was just not focused, you know,
Hmm.
that I couldn't concentrate on one thing. But I now know that's like my superpower, because I can do a lot of things, and I do get bored very quickly with one thing, but I've learned how to harness that and then just have so many things that I can do for my, within my business and with and outside of my business, to keep me engaged. And yeah, that's the creative mind, I guess, right? Just
Yeah.
needing to be on a few things.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Um, I guess kind of on that, what have you found to be your biggest challenges with remote work? So you mentioned that when you first kind of started out as an architect, you found it difficult to convince the people that you were working with to be remote and away from a project. What challenges have you found as being a remote architect?
Um, so I do think after COVID, it's a different world. I started my business in 2016, and yeah, people found it odd that I offer remote services. It was suspicious. I lost a lot of clients making the transition. I think today it's completely different. People don't find it strange anymore. It's like very common.
Yeah.
So I do think people coming into this and wanting to start working remote would have an easier time doing that. Having said that, architecture is still a pretty old-fashioned profession, where it is very physical. It is very specific to the site because you actually are digging up a site and building a house there. And people want the architect to be present in the location, in the job site. And I did try and find people to be able to go there while I do the design and they do the site work. But again, the
Hmm.
clients were not happy about that. And I know that it is possible. I do know of other digital nomad architects which kind of make it work remotely, and then they have to come in every few months. But I decided just not to go against the stream and create a whole new business doing the courses and digital products for architects. So I did feel like I was combining my love of architecture and design and bringing myself forward because my business, and then incorporating my love of technology and kind of making that all work together. Um, Even in that business, offering courses, digital products, I still in the beginning had problems with people finding it strange that it's all remote. But yeah, like I said, today it's a whole different thing. People are not that worried about it. The biggest struggle I think today that I'm facing, now that I do have a lot of experience with this lifestyle, is that whenever I make a move, it's hard to get back into the routine of my work time and play time and kind of find the
Hmm.
balance. It does take me about like 2 weeks when I get to a new place to completely settle into the routine. And that's why I am considered a slow mad. So I try to stay like 3 months in each place because I do really rely on the routine to help me focus on work and still have the time to see the place on the weekends or in the afternoons. Um, so that is still my biggest challenge, just being focused enough to work whenever I make a move.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. Finding a balance is kind of key, and especially as one of the big reasons for you, I guess, turning your life into a remote work lifestyle is because you enjoy the travel side. So if you were suddenly in a different place but working all the time and didn't get to see it, it kind of gets rid of the initial drive, I guess, for becoming remote.
Yeah, for sure. Like if you're just sitting on your computer for 12 or 15 hours a day, then I mean, it is cheaper to do it from Thailand than it is to do it in Germany, right? I don't know, but yeah, you want to enjoy the place you're in. I have to say the time difference is also a challenge,
Hmm.
especially at the moment because my business is in Israel and I'm now 9 hours behind. So by the time I wake up, I have this huge pile of emails and messages, and I hate to deal with that when I first wake up, but I have no choice because it's already 2 p.m. in Israel.
Yeah.
Um, but you work around it. I mean, I'm not gonna go to Latin America because of the time difference.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And what would you say have been your biggest rewards since you transitioned into remote work?
Well, mainly the ability to travel
Mm-hmm.
and just see the world and actually stay for a while in these places and not just like pass by and be in a rush to see everything very quickly. I feel like you get to experience like the local culture much more when you're actually like renting a local apartment and going to the supermarket and cooking the local food and getting to know the people. It's a whole and of course meeting all these people that I never would have met if I've not gone and started traveling. It's really taught me a lot also about what we were talking before about the balance that you can find in life and like prioritizing what you really love to do and what's important to you and not just spend all your whole day in the office, which I was doing before. It's also given me a lot of confidence in myself, like having gone through so many crazy experiences and dealing with things that I never ever thought I would have to deal with. It's really built my belief in myself that I can
Mm-hmm.
handle pretty much anything you throw at me, knock on wood. But I also started this journey with a partner, a boyfriend, and we broke up a few months ago. So now I'm going through a whole process of learning how to be a nomad on my own, because we were always a nomad couple and it's completely different now. And it's really exciting and interesting. And yeah, I did travel on my own many years ago. But yeah, it's a different thing to be a single digital nomad female on their own. Everybody asks me all the time, like the locals, where is my husband? So that's always been funny. I read a post somebody was saying about she bought herself a wedding ring and she travels with a wedding ring, so people would stop asking her if she's married. So yeah, you just learn so much about the world, but also about yourself. It's pretty cliche, I know, but I really feel it.
Yeah, I think it's really valuable. You learn so much, and I think you really grow and develop as a person because you're faced with different challenges that perhaps you wouldn't have to face if you remained in the same place or if you stayed at home, I guess. So we're starting to get a few questions in now. One of the first questions is, so many sort of, I guess, traditional professions, such as law or medicine or construction, are often considered to be non-remote, just traditionally, I guess. Do you see some of these becoming remote as well? And if so, how do you propose to do so? If someone was working in that career, what advice would you give them to perhaps go remote?
Well, I see it as you have two options. You either go in the way that I went, which is saying, okay, I want to travel. This is more important to me than being an architect, a lawyer, whatever. So I'm going to give that up in a way and find a way that I can use my skills to work online and then create your own business. This is what I did. And it's been so satisfying, and really I would not have it any other way. But the other option is to say, okay, no, I want to be a builder. I want to be a carpenter. I don't care. I can't be a carpenter online, but I'm not willing to give that up because that's my passion. And then I wouldn't say you can become a digital nomad, but you can work and live remotely in a specific place. So that means you travel to your destination and you start your life there and find your work locally there. The problem with this option is that you're going to be paid locally as well, usually. unless you are really good at what you do and you believe you are an artist carpenter, and then you can offer your services to high-end clients. There's always expats and people willing to pay more for good work. So lawyers and doctors, they can join these programs like Doctors Without Borders. There's a lot of opportunities to volunteer and get free accommodation where you're going to. But again, you're not going to be able to sustain this life while traveling. It's just like picking a place and then going to live there for a while and then moving to the next place, living there for a while. I think that's great too. It's not exactly remote work, but it's something in between. Yeah. You okay? Your mic is still muted.
Okay, there we go. Yes. Yeah, it's really interesting. I think that if people can give up their sort of traditional career and choose travel over their, say, profession, then they can be creative and make a job or a career path into something that they want. I think that's kind of the beauty of remote work at the moment, is there's so much flexibility and freedom to be creative with it. So we have another question in. This one's just more of a general digital nomad question, and it's for you. So since you are constantly traveling, how do you manage medical care such as routine checkups that are not covered by most travel insurances? I guess either you can give your personal kind of answer or in general.
So I have travel insurance, but that only covers emergencies, right? So anything like hospital or something, but it is important to still go to the skin doctor or the lady. Bottom line, these services in the places that I go to are so affordable that it would be cheaper than to pay for a whole travel health insurance. So I just pay out of pocket for these specific ones. And whenever I go back to Israel, where I do have still the local insurance, I just go to all the doctors, all the blood works, everything. But I mean, it can be 2 years between visits. So I do go to the dentist and, having my teeth cleaned and all that locally, and I just pay out of pocket. It is important to say there are healthcare plans for digital nomads that you can just buy a whole coverage for everything, including the routine stuff. But I just find it more expensive than actually just paying for what you need.
Yeah, I think obviously it depends on where you are in the world. I think in the US it's good to have insurance, but there's definitely, I've also come across that there's some places where it's either subsidized, so it's the same cost as it would be if you're a local, or it's extremely affordable.
Yeah, but of course it should be said that it really depends on what you need as a person, and what like if you have to go every week to get I don't know, antihistamine shots or something, then you might want to be covered for that too. Yeah. But yeah, I do generally, should be said, I go to affordable locations. I don't want the financial stress of living somewhere that's really expensive, and I like to eat out when I want and, take trips and whatever. So in these affordable places, the healthcare is also affordable. And I'm talking about private healthcare. Like in Mexico, for example, where I spent a lot of time, you could just go and have surgery and it wouldn't be that expensive, So yeah.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. Thank you for sharing that with us. So I guess another question back onto the more creative design side. What is what room do you think is most important in a home, like as a nomad, to try and focus on decorating or making feel like home?
Well, again, because I'm traveling alone now, I kind of only stay in studios. Yeah. So that's only one room.
Yeah.
So the whole room is important, but I do try and kind of create different spaces, different areas within the one room. I think that's even more important because it's only one space, is to have your sleep area and then have your work area and your kitchen eating area. So for me, it's important because it helps me focus on work more when I do sit down to work. And that can be done with a lot of little tricks, and again, not investing a lot of money. Even like you have a bedside lamp, so you can put that on your desk and then create this kind of area that's better lit. You can even move it in the night if you need it by your bed. And I do a lot of times come to these apartments that have a lot of carpets. I just roll them right up and put them away. I hate carpets, they're always dirty. They never get cleaned well enough. So I do take care of my whole space. But if you are staying in like a 1-2 bedroom apartment, it's hard to give a general answer because it does really matter. Like, it's important. What is important to you? What do you need help with? Do you need help sleeping better and relaxing in the end of the day? Or do you need help concentrating on work? When I was traveling in a couple, we'd always try and get a 2-bedroom apartment because I would really need a yoga space. And I would love to have this separate room where I can just chill and be on my own if I needed alone time as well. So that room became the most important room for me. And that was the room that I invested my most, more of my energy and putting my art in there. But I think it's really important to ask yourself where you need better energy, where you need better focus, or, and then try and invest there. But honestly, we're staying in small places and nobody's getting a mansion, right? So how hard is it to just take care of the whole space, right?
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
have like a junk drawer. That's not a thing. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's fantastic. So I'm just going to ask you one last question. What one piece of advice would you give to other nomads or those who are looking to become digital nomads? Like a piece of advice to either start their journey or for those who are already on it.
I would say that if this is your passion and this is what you want to do, you should look at it as no risk thing to do. You can always go back to where you started, back to your old job. But if you're doing this step and you decide to go forward, there's only potential for positive change. And again, you can always go back, but you're not really risking anything. You're just giving yourself the opportunity to really do what it is that you love. And my advice is always just go for it. There's so many reasons not to do something, but yeah, just do it.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. We just got one more question in, so I'm just going to squeeze it in before we finish up. Do you have any tips for relaxing and sleeping in a new space?
Well, again, for me, really organizing is really, really important. I have a rule that if you're staying more than 3 nights, you have to unpack. So that really helps not to be on my, feeling like I have a suitcase, everything's in a pile, but it's put away, and that automatically makes me feel more at home and more relaxed. I even, if I'm staying for a few months, I even had bought linen, because I had these synthetic linens that I hated, and I just ordered on Amazon in Mexico, 100% cotton sheets. I think my sleep is so important to me, and I was willing to invest the price of a good meal in my sleep, Having my little clock near me makes me feel more comfortable. And also when I have trouble getting to sleep because my mind is racing, I do a meditation for sleep. I have a good app for that.
Ooh, okay. Can you suggest the app?
It's Headspace.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I do every morning I do meditation, but sometimes when I can't get to sleep, they have these sleepscapes, and they have these unwind meditation, like 5 minutes. And I put a 5 minute meditation on and I'm asleep before it's finished. So for me, it really works.
Cool. Well, thank you very much for sharing that with us. That kind of brings us to the end of our talk today. So thank you everyone for joining us today. And thank you, Shelly, for speaking with me today. If anyone is interested in finding more out about Shelly's work, then you can contact her on the forum, or if they want to talk to you, they can find where's best to contact you.
Well, so the post has all my links, I think. You can check out my work on my website, AgamDNA.com. And on Instagram, follow me, Digital Nomad Art, and I just share on stories my day-to-day life. And I'm really happy to speak with people who are wanting to go on this journey.
Thank you. So once again, thank you very much. Join me again next week at 5 p.m. I will be speaking to Eileen Darman, who is from Nomad Soulmates. So make sure to join us next week to find out more about nomad dating. Thank you very much, and see you all again soon.
Thanks, Becca.
Thank you.
Bye. See you soon.